Welcome to the Trust Factor Podcast, the only podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Good morning, everybody, and happy Monday. It's going to be an amazing week, but I want to remind everybody that there is still a war raging in the Middle East, and our brothers and sisters are affected by it. For those of us who don't live in Israel, it's quite easy to just rest on what we are accustomed to, that we can go about our lives with fairly little interruption, that we can expect a somewhat normal day, a repeat this week of last week. In Israel, that is far from the truth. In Israel, they don't know what's going to be from minute to minute. You have no idea. The changes can be life-changing within a minute, no matter where you are within the country. And they have to live like this. They have to constantly be on edge. Now, what a way to grow up. If you haven't grown up in Israel, I spent a lot of time there, and there weren't any wars raging when I was a kid. But it's just a very, very challenging way because it forms the individual that you are, and you're growing up with this constant state of fear. Eventually it becomes subconscious, but it's still there, and it dictates your actions and your thoughts. So these episodes, it goes without saying, but they should really be in the merit of a speedy and victorious outcome. It needs to be decisive. The war needs to end quickly, but it needs to be decisive. There cannot remain any necessity to go back and refight this war. Like I just saw the other day, still images of these Hamas fighters popping up in Gaza. They need to be eradicated. There can't be one of them. They need to be petrified of the idea of even putting on that uniform or saying that name anymore, because everything associated will lead to death and destruction for them. If they don't, if they have any desire to put that uniform, that bandana back on, then we haven't done our job. It needs to be decisive. We can't lose precious Jewish souls just to have to go back and do this all over again. Having said all that, let's get back into the book, my friends. Pull over to the side of the road. We're about to get into simple examples like getting pulled over by a police officer, our day-to-day lives, the things that we struggle with, the challenges that test our emuna. Every single one of us go through similar examples. You can find your tribulations in mine and vice versa. They're just designed a little bit differently because each and every one of our lives has many subtle differences. Pulling over to the side of the road, what does it mean? You're driving along the highway in your car, and suddenly you see the flash of the red and blue lights. We've all been there. If you haven't been pulled over yet, this is going to give you an idea of what you should be looking forward to. But really, it's just a matter of time until you have a confrontation with the law, right? We look in our rearview mirror, and what do we see? Those very same flashing blue and red lights of a state trooper's car. In Canada, that state trooper is an OPP officer. And if you know who the Ontario Provincial Police is, you know that they are like the state troopers. These people are iron-fisted. There's no emotion. They do not care for any excuses. You cannot appeal to their senses. They are like robots programmed to do a job. A patrolman with an iron jaw motions for us to pull over to the side of the road. Whether or not we broke the law right now is not important. Even though in your mind, you're racing through a million different things. Is my license up to date? Do I even have it on me? Is my registration okay? Do I have it on me? My insurance? Did I blow out a taillight? Did I check before? When's the last time I checked? All these things are running through your mind. Was I speeding? Did I miss a stop sign? You're starting to do an analysis, but really it doesn't matter because you could have been driving perfectly. Still, your mind is running a mile a minute. This is a test of your emuna. It doesn't get any more classic than this. Now is the time, my friends, to activate your emuna. The lessons of emuna that we've learned up until now are about to be put into practice if you've been listening. What do we need to do? Number one, we need to believe that our current predicament is from the Creator and exactly what He wants. I'm going to make a slight edit to that statement. It's not that we should believe. It's that we need to know. That difference, my friends, is the difference between Emuna and Bitachon, between faith and trust. Believing means you still have a sense of faith. means you're still at the early stages of your growth, of coming to terms with the fact that God runs this world and that everything is perfect and for your own good. You're still just learning that it's still theory for you, in which case you can say that you still believe. But there needs to come a point in time in every single one of our lives where we cross over the threshold from belief to knowledge. That is a critical step, and it's a game-changing step. Going from not believing anything, or believing in governments and believing in Steve or whoever else you want to believe in, to believing in a creator, that in itself is also a tremendous step. But to go from belief to knowledge is entirely a whole new level, and where every single one of us should be striving to get to. And that's why there's no need to blame ourselves, to say, why wasn't I more careful? Or to blame the other driver. He was creeping on me. I had to pass him. Or our spouse who's sitting beside you and chirping in your ear, go faster, we're late. There is no need to harbor any bad feelings towards the police officer, which oftentimes is a response that a lot of people employ. They get mad at the police officer. Right? I've seen that. You've seen these videos, especially in this generation of entitled people. It's who are you? Do you know who I am? Why are you pulling me over? I happened to just watch a similar video like this the other day. It was mind-boggling to see this individual get pulled over. An older Italian man who clearly had never been pulled over and never been challenged by authority in his life had a complete meltdown to the point where he almost had a heart attack. He couldn't control his emotions and he was lashing out at everybody. Oftentimes people have that response where they go on the attack because they feel that they're being persecuted. There is no need to hate the police officer. Why? Because he's doing his job. Not the job that he's getting paid by the citizenry for. Not the pay that he gets from his office when it's the end of the week and he gets his paycheck. He's doing the work of your creator. Your loving father who is watching out for you sent this police officer to pull you over. Now, according to state traffic laws, we might be innocent of wrongdoing. Maybe he pulled you over and he shouldn't have. Maybe you're entirely in the right. But according to the guidelines of Emuna, we deserve to be pulled over. The policeman in this case is an enforcing officer of the Creator's absolutely just legal system. Even if you did nothing, listen to this. Even if you don't get a ticket, even if you got off with a warning, the very fact that your heart went from your chest into your shoes because you got pulled over and you saw those red and blue flashing lights, because your mind was racing and you were worried and that anxiety came over you and your face became flush and you started stumbling over your words and looking for your license and you couldn't compose yourself. All of that is a massive tribulation. Massive tribulation. To cause such angst to your child is a tribulation. It's God sending somebody over to say, wake up. You're doing something wrong. There is a message in that action. What that message is for you to determine. Maybe you're driving to somewhere you shouldn't be driving. Maybe your head is in the wrong place. Maybe you've used your vehicle one too many times to go to places that you shouldn't be going. I don't know. You know and I know when it comes to our own individual lives. That's why you need to do the accounting. What's the second thing we need to have in our minds? That we need to know. Again, it says here believe, but I'm telling you, you need to know that what's happening to us now is for our own ultimate good. That's why we need to take our brain and switch it off. Set it aside. Don't think about the why from the material world. Think about the why from the spiritual world. The cop has no idea why he's pulling you over. None. He thinks he does, but in reality, he doesn't. And so we know what he doesn't know. So as he approaches and as he has a dialogue with you, you're not thinking about him. You're thinking about your creator. And if you're doing that, think about this. If you believe that this officer was sent by your creator, in other words, you're not sure, but you believe, because that's the implication of the word belief, then every second of that transaction is going to be filled with worry and thought and fear and uncertainty. As soon as you cross that threshold of now I know it comes from my creator and it couldn't come from anywhere else and it's got nothing to do with this individual called a police officer, suddenly your fears fade. Your worries go away. And now you're able to interact with that police officer in a way that is polite and respectful. The only time you don't, like we've said many times in the past, is when we have a problem with the identity of self, with ego, with haughtiness, with arrogance. You'll remember just a few weeks ago we said that the number one cause of a lack of Emuna is arrogance. That's exactly what I'm saying. And even if you do have a belief in a creator, it's just that. It's a belief which implies doubt. So you will still have potentially that approach. The approach of arrogance. I don't understand. I need to understand why this is happening. Until then, I'm going to be upset and I'm going to push back and I may not be respectful and polite to this police officer. As soon as you cross the threshold into knowledge, into trust, bitachon, suddenly nothing phases you. How are you today, Mr. Officer? Thank you for pulling me over. I'm not sure what I did, but I'm curious to hear. When you approach it with a polite and respect attitude, everything changes. And the only way to approach it is to know that it is designed with absolute purpose, and that purpose is your best. Number 3, and we'll leave it with this. We need to believe. Again, it says here, every time you see believe, in my mind, change it to know. We need to know that the Creator wants to bring us closer to Him. For everything in life has a reason and a purpose, and that there are no tribulations without transgression. This police officer is none other than the Creator's catalyst to initiate a process of soul searching and atonement for something that we may have inadvertently done wrong. Although we are pulled over because of an apparent traffic violation, the natural circumstance, natural in quotations, is only a vehicle of divine justice designed to arouse us. This entire existence is one big test of Emuna. Everything that transpires in a person's life on a daily basis is a test of your Emuna. Where are you holding in your relationship with your Creator? And when He sends you these tests, that's all He's looking for, is to say, have you grown? In theory, maybe you've learned a little bit. Maybe you've been listening to both seasons of the podcast. Maybe these ideas, in theory, are finding a home in your heart and in your head. But are they really making a difference? Or is it just theory? Or are these just nice ideas that are being given over to you on your way to work in the morning, make you feel good for 10, 15 minutes? Or are you actually acting on them? Are you actually making this a part of who you are? Are you working on yourself to make it so? Because it's not easy. I'll be the first to admit all of these ideas in theory are nice and easy to hear, but there's a very big difference between theory and practice. We need to take these teachings and make them practice. So what does that mean? That means the next time you get pulled over by a police officer, thank them. Work on yourself. Yes, your heart may drop into your shoes when you see those lights, but that second should be the catalyst that starts your thinking, your contemplation of not why you got pulled over by this police officer, but why Hashem sent this police officer to pull you over. 2 very different ideas. Now you're addressing an officer of your Creator. Now you're addressing somebody who was sent, hand-delivered by the one who loves you most. So now you're going to look at that individual with different eyes, with a sense of respect and reverence, and you're going to say, thank you for pulling me over. I'm not sure what I did, but I'd love to hear it. How's your day going, Mr. Officer? Sorry to have been a nuisance to you. You flip the script on this police officer, and just by virtue of doing that, you know what happens. Just by virtue of accepting the decree with love as coming from your Creator, you've turned the thermostat down on the heater. You've turned the fire way down from an inferno into a barely a spark. That's what happens. You do it with the police officer and you do it with the Creator, and you set yourself up for amazing, amazing success the rest of that day. Have an amazing day, my friends, and we will chat tomorrow. Thank you for spending time with us on the Trust Factor podcast. If you've heard something today that moved you, save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor podcast. Thanks for listening.